books. The Rose Tackle Football League. Back in action. You got 5 losers. Sorry, 6 losers. 6 winners. I wasn't counting you and I in that first
In that
thing,
case, 5 winners, 7 losers.
yeah, exactly. Brother John, good to have you back. Week 2, how's it going?
Besides, well, not getting beaten as badly as some other teams that we will certainly mention at some point during this episode. Besides getting stomped by the Mecha Peter, or should I say, still the Mecha Peter, yep. I'm doing okay.
Good, good.
Not
You
super
had to
stoked about,
you,
the Bears, but that's okay.
yeah, well, the Bears are a whole nother story, but you had to expect that loss this this last week, right?
Oh,
You knew what you were in for.
yeah, on both fronts, really. I mean,
Yeah.
really both. The eldest son, formerly the Rose City Destroyers, and the Bears were going to lose.
Yeah.
They were always going to lose.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just to recap the Bears loss, the
You're getting
so
into the content everyone wants.
exactly. I went and played basketball on Sunday during the first half of the Bears game, and I recorded it. Came home, and Barbara had it on, but turned it off when I came in, and I could immediately tell by her face when I started to put it back on that things had gone quickly awry. And then
Bears look good in
I
the
was
first
in for a
half,
bumpy
though.
ride. They
Yeah,
did look okay. They did look okay.
as
It
long as
was
you didn't look at Chase Claypool, because what is that guy doing? He should not be wearing a
uh
Bears uniform. Cut
yeah,
him.
well,
Have you seen that reel of all of
yeah.
his plays? Yeah, it's
Oh no, I haven't.
oh my God, yeah.
Pretty
I'll send
exciting.
it to you.
Okay.
It is just every play where he's like run a route or blocked, and like I've seen more effort out of, I don't know, a wet towel. Like
Yeah.
it is
He
one of the most despicable efforts I've ever seen. I hope that they're just playing it to start every meeting for the Bears this week, because that guy should be cut. Like it's just he should be straight up cut. Like there's
yeah,
no reason for him to be on the team anymore.
yeah.
So I'll send it to you.
Pretty
It's awful.
pretty disappointing. Other than Claypool,
Bears life.
it's the defense I felt like did play well for a little bit in the first half, and then the wheels kind of came off. But it
No
was
adjustments at all
what's
at
that?
halftime. No
Yeah,
adjustments at all at halftime. That's what I
yeah,
took away from that, was that we did nothing.
yeah.
But
Pretty frustrating. Let's move on. Congratulations to our Packer fans.
oh, I will say, yeah, the Packers fans are the only fans that were able to celebrate a week 1 victory in the
Yeah,
NFL. Why does this feel so fucking familiar? Okay,
yeah,
this is supposed to be different this year. And yet here we are. Bills lose, Steelers lose. I mean, Patriots lost. That's more like, current, right? That's like yeah, that's normal now, but
expected.
um yeah. And yet the Packers fans are still celebrating a week 1 victory.
Well, let's jump from the NFL to the RTL. RF RTFL. You can tell I'm tired. So this may not be our most exciting podcast, but I'll try to keep it on the rails. Okay, week 1. Couple big things happened. Jake somehow gets a victory in his first RTFL game, uh, pulling a defunct and lifeless franchise from the brink, and getting a victory over what has to be a devastated Kelly. Um, and
Awful.
good on Jake. Good on Jake. Uh, clay puddled, not even squeaking it out, ultimately wins by 11 points, doesn't put up very many points, but Kelly, just a brutal day all the way around from
Yeah,
Lamar
it is.
Jackson on down.
It was the closest margin of victory though in the
Hmm.
RTFL in week one. So
Hmm.
not really squeaking it out, but also the smallest margin. So
Yeah. Um, they so congratulations. And then speaking to Jake, and then speaking of margins of victory. So week one was our first weekly prize. The weekly prize was that margin of victory prize, biggest margin of victory. I think on Sunday we were all kind of tracking Sullivan as being the
yeah, for
likely
sure.
winner, thanks to him having that Dallas defense that ended up putting up, what was it, 37 points in our
Hmm.
league. Um,
And playing Ken,
and
of course,
him playing Ken. However, Sullivan ended up with the third biggest margin of victory.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
Bill who ended up with the biggest margin of victory. Bill, the fat upper pistol area,
Yep.
uh, clocks Alec,
Yeah.
who just really a dismal showing from Alec's team. And we knew it was gonna be rough when he came out of the draft. Just not a lot of great players, but even the guys at the top of his team, right, didn't have the type of weeks that you're hoping they're gonna have. Pat Mahomes just shy of 20 points. Derrick Henry puts up about 13. Okay. And Josh Jacobs not getting it done. So
Oh yeah.
that's going to hurt. But the big one, obviously, T. Higgins puts up a zero spot. Um,
Goose egg.
and then, of course, DJ Moore and Gabe Davis really didn't help the situation either.
Oh yeah. I mean, as I like to call him, Wild Bill. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
shooting not necessarily from the hip anymore, more from the
Hmm.
fat upper pistol area. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
Throwing out guys. I mean, Mike Evans has a huge day for him.
Yep.
All things considered, with Baker Mayfield throwing to him now. Aaron Jones, I didn't realize that he did that much before leaving the game, and I think the late third quarter. Huge day
Hmm.
for him. And then Bijan Robinson. I mean, he looks good.
Yeah.
And I think Bill spent for him,
Hmm.
and it paid off right away. I mean, it's incredible. I was skeptical, but I mean,
Yeah.
Bill's team fully healthy is looking really good right now. Off to a hot start with a mediocre game from Josh Allen.
Yeah. Overcame a bad game from Josh Allen. Still, I'm not sold. I don't know if we talked about this last time. I feel like we did, but I don't recall it. Not sold on Najee.
Yeah,
Um,
so that might yeah, I mean, I'll drop a hint. We can talk about it more later. Not sold on
by
Najee. Puts up a disappointing game, and then you go ahead and drop Jalen Warren. We'll talk about
well,
that more later.
we
But
can get into it. I have my reasoning. I mean, and I'd love to hear who else you think I should have dropped, but we can get into that later. Um,
yes, yeah, for sure.
we're gonna track
The
down
talk of
the
the league at the
the
moment.
waiver
Talk of the
wire.
league. So
Talk of the league. Who between you and Peter?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's nothing you two like more than talking about my fantasy team.
Yeah, yeah. We put
You
it on
guys
the
should get
list.
a you
We
guys
put
should
it
get
on
a
the
new
list
hobby.
of questionable moves by Mike
Okay.
Rose.
Okay.
It's for the
So
10-year anniversary show where we go through all of the moves that you made.
well, I got a lot more moves to make before we get to that.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
It's gonna be a long
so
show.
yeah, it is. So congrats to Bill. Happy for him. Way to go.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing that happened is on um, Alec off the island. which is a result of this horrible game that we just talked about.
Yeah, one team wins $50 for absolute shit kicking. The other team, who then is now not only out the potential of winning $50, but also off the island, and thereby will not be in the running for $100. So
Yeah, really, a in terms of potential winnings, $150 swing for Alec there.
yeah,
Tough week,
yeah.
tough week. Um, right. There were there were some big injuries in week one. Notably, Aaron Rodgers, much to the delight of some Packer fans, uh, at some bar. I assume that was in Wisconsin. But Aaron Rodgers out for the season. How that impacts Garrett Wilson, other Jets, remains to be seen. The thing that I was struck by coming away from that game, and what gives, other than kind of Josh Allen's dismal performance, um, and that gives me hope for the Jets as a whole, and kind of really, I think, entices me to their backfield, was the play of Breece Hall. Breece Hall looked incredible on Monday night, just like,
Mhm.
really like Barry Sanders, was all over the map. At one point, he had a run where he was hit. It seemed like he was hit maybe 3 or 4 yards in the backfield, had 2 or 3 guys that he had to shed, made it back not just to the line of scrimmage, but for what turned out to be like a modest 4 yard gain that really reminded me of something you'd see in like the early 90s from Barry Sanders, turning absolutely nothing into positive yardage. I was blown away by Brees Hall. Thought he looked great.
Yeah, which I mean, that has huge implications for not for Brees Hall, but for a recent trade that went down in the RTFL, where the Black Stallions traded
Mm-hmm.
AJ Dillon for
Mm-hmm.
Dalvin Cook. And now,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're looking, nah, it seems like it could be a wash, and it's only 1 week, so we'll see going forward. But Aaron Jones potentially injured, right? Left the game before the end, and you could see an increased workload for AJ Dillon moving forward, and potentially a decreased workload for Dalvin Cook. So it will be very interesting. Going back, I think it was 2 seasons. Was it last season or 2 seasons ago, where Kelly made a big trade for, was it Debo Samuel, and it backfired
No,
immediately.
I don't recall. I can't remember when it was.
And a very tough trade. So it looks like this trade could work out better for her, which is exciting. Um, Obviously, it didn't help her week one, but something to keep an eye on moving forward.
Agreed. Agreed. Other big injuries. J.K. Dobbins, devastating injury, out for the season. Well, yeah, not out for the season necessarily. I guess he could theoretically come back still at this point, but we'll see. Seems unlikely. Uh, the the Baltimore backfield, a hot topic today, or a hot item today in the waiver wire land. I don't know that there's much
Definitely.
clarity there in terms of what's going to happen in that backfield, but we'll see.
No, I agree. I mean, I went in on. We'll get into uh, waiver pickups and various bids that people put in. But
Mhm.
it does seem like a bit of a committee at this point. It says that the team has said that they're exploring options. Um, and you do have a new offensive coordinator there, right? And so a new sort of offensive scheme. And so what we've
Mhm.
seen in years past, when Dobbins has gone down or been injured, what um, oh God, what's his name? I can't remember. Their previous OC. Anyway, what he did does not necessarily mean what is going to happen, going forward. So quite a few people hedged bets on which running back will come out of this as top running back, but
Mhm.
remains to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I agreed. Um, the other, some other guys banged up. Austin Eckler looks to be out. We can get into that with the waiver wire. Deontay Johnson likely going to be out for a while as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Deontay, I think, is definitely out for a while. But yeah,
Um,
you want to get into the waiver wire? I mean, it's
sure.
pretty active. I was pretty stoked about it. Um, and I figure like right now, before we get into the actual fun parts, it'd be good to discuss. We do have, obviously waiver wire, different on Sleeper. We were able to customize it a bit more. And I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but I figured since the first big waiver wire week happened, the waiver wire will run an hour before the first set of games on Sundays, and then every at the same time every week, right? So if you're on the East Coast, it runs at noon before the 1 o'clock games on Sundays, and then on the
Mhm.
West Coast, it runs at 9 a.m. every day.
That's right.
Which, I think this is some feedback that I think Ken gave us a half a dozen times or more over the last couple of years. But this does allow people where if they wake up and especially on the West Coast, if you wake up and an hour and a half before the first set of games starts, reports come out who's in, who's out. It'll allow you time to put in a waiver claim if needed, and then have it run so that you can pivot if people are out, right? So just know that, and then yeah, every day it's going to run at the same time except for on Tuesdays. So
Yep.
just be aware of that. So it's a little bit more manager friendly, so you can make moves in a more timely manner. So just be aware.
Let's get into it. Where do you want to start? You want to start with me, or should we start elsewhere to
I
draw the
mean,
audience
sure.
in?
Let's no, let's start with the biggest spender, which is Josh Kelly. Can you see the bids on there? I don't think you can see all the
Yep,
bids.
$42. So
No,
I
but if you
believe, on
yeah,
all the
if
other
you go on the
bids.
side, go on the side and go to the chat. I don't
Yes,
know if
if
you can expand the chat,
no,
but
you're right, it's in the chat. So you're gonna have to. There's a couple things people should know. We Now the league chat is all fucked up. It like will only take me down to here. We
can
are
you drag
still.
it? You should be able to. Mine's much bigger for
I
some
just
reason.
realized the reason why is because I was in the wrong league.
Oh,
Apparently, because you can toggle between these. Okay, so here we go. $42, biggest bid by me to pick up Josh Kelly. Porter put in 28, Kelly 9, Bilbo 6, Kramer, I guess, just like wanted to have his name out there, which makes complete sense. Just feels like he needs to be included in the conversation. So it decides to bid $3, which he knows, has to know. He's never going to get Josh Kelly for $3. Uh, all in all, very happy with how it played out. Obviously, $42, a lot of money. I wanted Kelly. I wanted to make sure I got him. Austin Eckler banged up. Kelly looked fantastic,
oh
and
yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah,
think easily slots in as a top uh, top 15 running back should Eckler go down. So wanted to have that guy. Now, the question you have for me, why didn't
Oh
I
yeah,
drop somebody other than and how did I
yeah.
go to my
I
team?
think that the money you spent on Josh Kelly is totally fine, right? That makes sense. You've got Eckler. He
So
goes down,
yeah,
then
yeah,
you're fucked if you don't have his backup. Um, now, yeah, let me just say, Warren's great. You've got two quarterbacks, you've got two tight ends,
wait,
you've
wait,
got a
wait, wait, wait,
defense,
wait,
you've
wait,
got
wait.
a
I got
kicker.
a defense and a kicker. I have to start a defense and a kicker. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
but I mean, maybe I'm just giving away a little bit of strategy here, but you could
Sure.
drop one of your kicker or your defense, and then
Uh-huh.
um, if later Eckler is ruled out, you put him on injured reserve. You pick up another, then you pick up a
Sure,
kicker or a
sure.
defense,
Yeah,
right? But you
I could
also
have
have
done all that.
two quarterbacks and two tight ends. So
Hmm.
why would you drop arguably the best handcuff or top three handcuff in the league?
Who is arguing that Jalen Warren is a top three handcuff in the league?
I would say name better.
Well, I think Josh Kelly's a better handcuff. That's why I went out and spent all that money on him.
Okay. All
I
right. So
think there's
there's one.
actually
Yeah.
probably 20 better handcuffs in the league. Here's the secret:
Mm-mm.
Jalen Warren is not very good. That is why I dropped him. Jalen Warren, if you
I
look
don't
at his
know.
stats, take a look at what Jalen Warren did last week. Pretty bad. Take a look at what he did last year. Not all that impressive, but it was fine. Uh, never really has never really popped in his career as a great running back. And then take a look at what Najee Harris did on Sunday. Actually played pretty well. He only had 6 carries. That was the biggest problem. That Pittsburgh offense couldn't stay on the field.
Yeah,
So
and Jalen Warren had 6 targets. So he's clearly the
sure,
third down back that's getting,
for how many yards? For how many yards?
well, I mean, he was playing
Did you watch
he was
any of that game? Because I
yeah,
did watch that game.
do you know how good the 49ers are? The
I'm
49ers
very
are
aware of
have
how good the
arguably the best
49ers
defense
are.
in the league. So like,
Here's my thinking. Do you want me to take you through my thinking?
sure, sure.
So I do not want to drop Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid is
That's fine.
somebody I want to keep on my team. However, I can't start him yet. He's not a startable guy while I still have Mark Andrews. So he was going to stay. Um, as far as the two quarterbacks, sure, I could have dropped one of the two quarterbacks, but quarterback is a position of question right now, and I'd like to figure out which one of these guys I'm going to keep because there's
Mm,
nobody in the player pool that I have any interest in. So I'm going to roll with these two quarterbacks for now. So they were staying on my roster. Didn't want to move them. The only other guy I was considering dropping was Traylon Burks. Uh, he was the guy I put him up against. Traylon Burks didn't have a great week last week. That offense also pretty rough. Um, you know, not gonna
totally.
lie. So I don't feel great about Traylon Burks, but my calculation was I'd rather keep the wide receiver and change out another running back and have some flexibility when Deontay Johnson is going on, possibly going on IR. Who knows what Deontay Johnson is going to end up doing, and when the only other receiver I'd have after that is Mike Thomas, who I drafted him. I drafted him as a long shot, somebody I
Yeah.
wanted to see
You
what would
said
happen.
never again, by the way. You
He's a new
said
man.
never
I'm a new man.
again.
He's a new man. I'm a
He's
new man.
not a new man.
Uh,
I'll give you that you're a new
but
man, but he's not a new man.
Mike Thomas is not somebody I feel comfortable as having as the only wide receiver on my bench. Uh,
That's fair. That's fair.
this
I mean,
so
that's reasonable.
this is then complicated by the fact that I have two 49ers wide receivers, which still, despite what happened last week, makes me a little just a tad bit anxious every week, starting both of those guys with Brock Purdy at quarterback, who played pretty well. But given all the other weapons that they have, makes me a little anxious. So the calculation came down to Traylon Burks and losing a wide receiver spot with one of my wide receivers going on the on IR most likely, and probably dropping at least into my IR spot, and then having the other guy be Mike Thomas. So
Yeah,
there you
I don't
go.
know. We'll see.
That was the calculation. Kelly was the
I
guy that I
mean,
had to have, and I wasn't going to bid money on. I, in hindsight, to be honest with you, had I known that Puka was going to go for $7, I probably would
yeah.
have made a move for him. However, I thought Puka was going to go for a lot more.
Yeah, honestly,
But
I was at 7 and I think I just didn't have a spot anymore. And so Peter got him, which is an incredibly frustrating. Anytime Peter gets any
mhm,
player, it's very frustrating when there's other bids out there, or if you tie him and he gets somehow the tiebreaker or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens with you
of course
dropping
we will.
Jalen
It'll
one. But
probably end in disaster.
yeah,
Uh,
but
who knows?
we'll see. We'll see.
We can
But
get
we
to
can
that
move
later.
on. Puka, I mean, could be a great pickup. He plays outside, not in the Cooper Cup's position,
Hmm.
so he could be good. Um,
Yeah.
even if Cup comes back, but yeah, I mean, armchair quarterback going hard for
Well,
Puka
so
at
that's
36.
what
That was incredible.
I was expecting something. I was expecting something closer to 36 than I was to 7, just based on what I had been reading over the last couple days about the amount of people targeting Puka on waiver wires. So I wasn't expecting him to go for $7. So I
Yeah,
think
I
that's a
agree.
steal for Kramer.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
honestly, it's a little disappointing to see Clay puddled down there at $2 when he has
yeah,
hundred and
spend that money,
forty-four
man.
dollars. I mean, this is the time to spend.
Can't take it with
Get
you.
these guys. Yeah, it doesn't roll over to next year. But
Nope.
arm hair. So I keep pronouncing Steve's team name wrong because it's just freaking great. Uh, on so many levels. I mean, just a funny wordplay, but also you shaving your arm hair, your hand hair, really. Last year, 2 years ago. Um,
Plays into
but
that a little bit.
yeah, Kyron Williams, going for
Mhm.
37. I also thought, yeah, that's great. He looked really good.
Yep. Yeah.
I think,
And it really seems like Cam Akers. I just don't know how much longer you do the Cam Akers thing
didn't Cam Akers have that like where he left the team for a little while and then they were trying to
I believe
trade
so.
him and then they had like a
Mhm.
come to Jesus moment and brought him
Yep.
back. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Uh,
seems it
and
seems
then they
crazy.
ended up, if I recall correctly, they ended up cutting Daryl Henderson, right? Instead.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
So I just
yeah.
don't see it. But I like the Kyron Williams pickup. Steve has Cam Akers on his bench, so I think it was kind of a have to go out and get him type situation, which makes
Yep.
sense as to why he bid 37 for Kyron and then 36 for Puka to make sure he got someone, but the first priority
Yeah.
obviously being Williams. And looking at his bench, he needed that running back bad, right?
For sure.
Steve's got Elijah Mitchell as his back, which is great handcuff for uh for CMC. But then he's got Algier, which looked really good on Sunday. That team can't the Falcons could support two running backs, but still you just never know. They might just keep feeding Bijan more and more, right? And then from there, you're looking at Singletary, Akers, and Antonio Gibson. So Gibson,
Yeah.
I think, gave him like negative points,
Negative
right?
points. Yeah.
Yeah, last week. So, at that point, you really do need to secure what is hopefully a number one running back in Kyron Williams there. So, um, or at least, a number one running back on his team, hopefully a top 15 back moving forward, uh, to give you that compliment to CMC. So I thought it was a good move on Steve's part. I think he knew he needed, similar to you, to go out and secure that player.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it. So in addition to that, the Baltimore backfield obviously went. Kelly picks up Justice Hill. I believe who got Gus
I
Edwards? You?
I did, yeah, yeah.
It's a
I
lot of
had that
money
thing.
for Gus Edwards.
Oh, I had that thing up at like 25, 27 to start, because I do think, I mean, historically Gus Edwards been that like next guy up. Justice Hill, he definitely got goal line work, but I mean he had like 8 carries for 9 yards. Like
Mhm.
it did not look very efficient. So not convinced that that's the guy, but yeah, I think dropping 18 on Gus was expensive. We'll see what happens. Thankfully, well, not thankfully. I really need a breakout running back so bad. Uh, there's no one good on my team.
Um, I
There's
don't know. I don't know that Gus Edwards is your guy.
I don't think
But we'll
so
see.
either. I don't think I have a guy, but Brian Robinson, thankfully, maybe, but I also don't think he's that good. So Kelly picking up Justice Hill for 27. We'll see. I mean, she had to get replace Dobbins, so
Yeah, Kelly, the Dobbins thing hurts. Also, um, I did not think AJ Dillon looked great against the Bears. As good as Aaron Jones played. AJ Dillon I thought played all right, but I didn't think he looked fantastic. Um, and then Deion Jackson, I believe, is also on our team, right? Yeah,
yeah,
which
yeah.
that was fucking abysmal. So
Mhm.
yeah, Kelly needed a guy. And then a couple other ones real quick. Kenneth Gainwell, uh, Porter goes out, or sorry, not Porter. Kramer goes out, gets Kenneth Gainwell, $26 as well. Um, what do you think about this pickup?
I'm a little confused. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know
Hmm.
kind of what the situation is there. It looked like Swift was like not used at all. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of weird. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell, I mean, he was never utilized all that much when Sanders was there, so um, a little confused. I haven't read much into it, but I thought I saw like Kenneth Gainwell was also injured. So
Um, I did not see that. That could very well be the case.
yeah, he's already been
Yeah,
ruled out for
officially
Thursday
ruled out
night
for
football.
Thursday Night Football. And here
So
Peter is texting you, talking to you about my fantasy moves. Maybe you ought to focus on his own team this year. Like I
um,
said before, his bench fucking sucks. So he's gonna have to get it together. Um, the
oh man,
a
this
couple.
rivalry is incredible.
I'm trying to really, get Peter's goat. So
I think it's working. I think it's working.
is it? That's
Yeah.
great to hear. I just had a devastating fantasy baseball playoff loss to Peter Kramer.
Oh, you did
And
lose to the basket in the baseball league? Oh
I
my
did,
God.
yeah. Well,
He was
my
he
three
was
best
talking a lot
players
of
were
shit.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't talking shit to me. Talk shit to me,
Oh.
Peter. Don't do it to my brother. Come on. Um,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, he needs yeah. I mean,
Step it up,
we'll get him
man.
on the pod next week, maybe. We'll
I
see what
don't know.
happens.
Might be too soon.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. We'll let him marinate.
so, um, all right. I think we've reached the end of the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick jaunt around the league, real quick, and just take a look at what teams you think coming out of this week Um, do you think, are you more worried about than you were before? And what teams do you feel better about than you did before the season started? Are there any?
Honestly, I do feel like, let's see here. I feel like the scoring was so down in week
Yep.
one. There's only
Mm-hmm.
5 teams that even surpassed 100 points, and we
Mm-hmm.
didn't see any teams above 120, I believe. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so, which is shocking, right? Like usually we're seeing at least 3 or 4 teams in that 115 and above range. And then, a low score being in that 90 to 100 point range. And
Mm-hmm.
all these teams were just down. So it's really hard to say, exactly who's up, who's down, who do I like more. Um, you know, Sullivan's team really, really played well. Um,
Yeah, but they really
Despite Aaron
benefited
Rodgers,
from.
being just having 0 points. But yeah, Tyreek Hill and Dallas playing really high. So it's really hard to say. Fitz's team looked pretty good. I think he has you know, not not that many flashy guys, but his guys that are going to go out and get 10 to 13 points at a minimum every week, I think. And then you've got Barkley and Pierce that could really pop off. And then
Mm-hmm.
Herbert, yeah, he only hit 19 points, but he's good for at least a couple times this season going 30 plus. So I'm excited to see that. And then, Devonta Smith also having that real boom potential that we just didn't really uh, see on 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 Sunday. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm. Um,
I
yeah,
think it's
I
there.
mean, I like Fitz's team. I think I liked it a little bit before. I like it still, I think the same amount now. Um, they're, Sullivan's team, I, Sullivan, like you said, relied a lot on Dallas's defense to get that point total. So I don't know that I feel fantastic about that. Um, Josh's team, I feel honestly, I feel like worse about, um, and I had already felt not great about it. So I am worried about Josh's team, especially with the Swift situation. I just don't know what to make of that. Um,
Yeah, I don't
the
get that at
the
all.
the lone bright spot that I wanted to point out was Addison. I can't remember how much.
Pittman, Pittman too. Come
Yes,
on.
Pittman. Sorry, Pittman played well. Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to
Also a
find
former
how
Decatur Staley.
he was a former Decatur Staley. Um,
What are you looking
I
for?
believe Josh and I traded for Debo. Uh, how much he paid for Jordan Addison,
April.
which
Right there.
$8, which I you know I think that might prove to be one of the better picks in the draft. Jordan Addison looked pretty good.
Yeah, the rest of his
So
team
that
is
could be a real
looking
bright
pretty
spot for
rough,
him.
though. Yeah,
What's that?
the rest of his team is looking pretty rough.
Yes,
Uh,
agreed.
Apparently, DeAndre Hopkins suffered an ankle injury that I'm seeing there. But David Montgomery, Swift, Hopkins, Pittman, Kyle Pitts. I mean, I do not understand the situation in Atlanta as far as Drake London and Kyle Pitts. I think, they
Yeah,
had nearly as many receptions. They had twice as many receptions as their quarterback did, which the quarterback had one. And
yeah,
so only to have two receptions between essentially your leading pass catchers is
yeah,
insanity.
yeah.
So that's concerning. Yeah, Josh's team hopefully gets a little bit of a rebound there and can do something this week. So Yeah, I
The
mean, I think the other team that, looks amazing, and maybe, you'll have not just a reaction, but an overreaction too. Uh, the Kankakee Staleys really came out and made a statement in their division, right? I think they really said,
well,
"I'm in control of this division." So, uh, what's your take?
what we tried to do in Kankakee is build a solid bench that covers all positions, ensures, you know, we got every area of the field covered, and provides depth across the board. Um, Unlike some other teams that I know about. Um, the only the
Very
only
top
I'm
heavy.
s- I'm sorry, Kramer. The only other the only other team I was just going to point out real quick that I thought actually I liked beforehand that didn't play very well, but actually I think continues to rise in my estimation is Ken's team.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
uh, Gibbs looked Gibbs looked great. I think Gibbs is going to be
Oh
solid.
boy.
Um, Kenneth Walker actually looked really good as well. Didn't find the end zone, which kept his scoring down, but really, like a solid performance from Kenneth Walker. The only question
Yeah.
mark being that Mike Williams spot, and getting Travis Kelce back obviously going to help. But at the same time, I think, Ken's got some wide receiver depth on his team. And then he's also the beneficiary of having Brees Hall on his team, who looked way better than I had anticipated him looking. So Ken's team, I think, with Turd Ferguson down there at the bottom, I think rose a little bit in my estimation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we're going to see a pretty strong effort this week, especially if Kelsey's back in there. I mean, ideally, you really don't need to put Mike Williams out there
Mm-hmm.
unless you're working through waiver weeks, because
Mm-hmm.
you can roll out Kenneth Walker, Gibbs, and Brees Hall, and that's going to be a strong, strong showing. Kenneth Walker,
Yep.
not a ton of yardage in the passing, but I think he had 5 targets for 4 receptions, which is I think a bigger share than what we saw last year, right? So I don't think he was really targeted too much in the passing game, right? Generally, if you're looking back at this, generally it's been 1 to 2 targets, 3 targets in 2022, and
Mm-hmm.
then a couple outliers of 5 targets and an 8 target game against Tampa Bay. But otherwise, not much work in the passing game. And so it was really encouraging to see that um, because they, the talk is that they drafted, Champagne guy, Chabernet,
Mm-hmm.
um, for passing work, but Kenneth
Yeah.
Walker, getting a good amount of targets there. So Ken could really have something there. And then, yeah, Gibbs looked on Thursday night. That was awesome. So,
Yep.
um, and Diggs and Metcalf can't go wrong. So, yeah, Ken's a bit of a scary team to
Scary.
have in the division. So I believe I'm playing him this week. So
Yep.
great.
All right. We're gonna leave it there for this show. Um, the upcoming week features some big matchups. Yeah, like you said, you're playing Ken. It's a battle of the brother-in-laws. We'll see who comes
Mhm,
out on
mhm.
top. Um, and
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So 0-1 and
two,
0-1. So one of us will be 0-2. And
there you
then
go.
we got at
The
least
other big matchup, we've got the Peters playing each other as well.
the Peters are playing each other. They're both 1-0.
Yeah. Um,
And then Josh and Alec both are 0-1, and so one of them will be ending up 0-2. Interestingly enough, Alec is projected to win at the moment uh, with
I think that'll
98
change.
points. So very interesting there. So we could have a couple of good games here to sort of determine, sort of where the divisions are going.
Agreed. Agreed. The only other thing I'll say, no weekly prize this week. Next weekly prize is a weekly high in week 3. That'll be $25 to the weekly high in week 3. Other than that, that's it. That's the show for today. For this week. Good luck out there. Week 2. We're learning a little bit more. We're learning a little bit more. Getting a little more comfortable, trying to figure it out. But we'll be back next week. Maybe we'll get a guest on.
Yeah, please submit your CVs.
Yes, applications in writing only. All right. This has been the RTF show.
Oh my God!